Welcome back to the Cafe Economies podcast, episode number 9. And today my guest is Mr. Ricky Ferrari. How are we doing, Ricky?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you, Lewis. Yeah, that is my real name. I get that a lot. People think it's a stage name, which is weird, but yeah, porn star name. I get that a lot. Yeah, it's a real name. Didn't get it in a cereal box, anything like that. But yeah, all good, Lewis. Finally, good to meet you in person.
I know, mate. Long time coming.
Long time. I think pandemic.
It was definitely 2020. So a bit of a backstory. We met on Instagram. Sounds really like really dodge.
Yeah, at least it wasn't Tinder, right?
Well, this is exactly. But I think it was you did coach. You were with a coach, and I asked you about it as like a feedback.
Yeah, I think it was, or maybe vice versa. I saw something, and yeah, I think we're just sort of asking for advice, and I think that the fitness community gets a sort of bad name, but everyone sort of does help each other out.
Definitely.
Right, do you think? Because I think we sort of, and it was just from there, right? And then we were just speaking, and and now here we are.
Here we are. We've done the podcast obviously before because you've been. I think it was episode 4 or 5.
Right. Okay. And that was 2 years ago.
That was 2021.
That was 21. I think that was the day after the Euro 2021 final.
Yeah, so we're talking about England.
Yeah, we was. I think I might have been a little bit hungover. So I'm feeling much better today, right? That's for sure. But yeah,
a lot fresher.
Thanks for having me on.
No worries, man. So first bit is over to you. So who you are and what you do. What people need to know.
Well, I'm not a PT. I say I'm a PT, but I'm not. I'm a coach. I prefer that term. Much more interested in the psyche of someone, how they work, and I truly believe that resistance training is one of the most important things a person can do because of how it compounds in other areas of their life. And that's what I want to show people, because I never thought the gym would be for me. I was a really big kid, fat kid, and I never thought it would for me. But, my reasons changed, and now I want to help people do the same, because I think, I was born to do it. I feel I want to help people, impact people. And, I get a huge buzz of when people say, and I'm sure you do as well, mate, being the reason someone might change or someone has a light bulb moment. And that's what I mean. That's what I want to help people do. Help people solve the problems they have, but help them solve it themselves, not just to tell them what to do, because no one learns stuff like that. It's about them finding their reason, their why, and helping them shift their identity, because that's what happened to me, and I'm only talking from experience, man. So, helping people get confident in the gym and realise that resistance training will compound in other areas of your life. It's not about the physique, it's about everything else that comes with it. Yeah. And that's what I think I really want to bat home, and that's how I want to impact people, man.
Yeah, I've said it before in a podcast, and I say it probably every other podcast, is like fitness is the metaphor for your life. So it is sort of the proof, the easy way of getting like, oh, I'm not very confident, I don't think I can do this, I'm not very good at it. And then you go into the gym, you're not very good at first, then it compounds, and it's like, right, okay, what have I been telling myself that I can't do as well? So it kind of like works in there too.
Exactly, and it creates and cultivates self-belief. My thing with resistance training is why I love it so much is because you can see yourself getting stronger. You can visually see it. And there's nothing more empowering. Yeah, it's not invisible. It's you feel it, and then that compounds. It snowballs, and then I was saying to another one of my clients, she used to hate the gym, but now because of the results, what's happening, and now she's a musician. She's focusing on that now because she's got a handle on the gym. She hated the gym, but now she's in a routine of that. She wants to improve other areas of her life, and that makes me so happy because that's the whole point, right? Like I say, it's not about being ripped, having a six-pack. It's never about that. That makes you feel good, maybe. It's about everything else.
Yeah. Right? It's like what it means as well. It's like looking at all these examples and like getting stronger in the gym, lifting more weights, defeating these limiting beliefs that you have, and then seeing, okay, where does that transpire? Because I don't think I suppose the gym part is, I think that's such a small bit. Like I was saying to people, it's like 10% what we're doing in the gym. It's more so how you're going to hold yourself now when you go out, how you're going to hold yourself when you go into relationships, how you're going to hold yourself in your job, with your friends. A lot of the women that I work with, stop taking shit from people because they're like, no, fuck you. I can do this. I have got that belief. And that just comes from just such a silly thing of just lifting weights, which people sort of overlook. Yeah,
exactly. And like what you said there is the female's not taking shit from people. That's right. I did working with a corporation, and some of the females in there they were resistance training and they'd never done it, and they were getting stronger and more confident. And what was actually happening is their partners began to raise their game because they were seeing their girlfriend or their wife starting to train and get stronger, and then all of a sudden that's maybe I need to, because it inspires everyone around you as well. So maybe I need to do that. And I actually got a comment saying, I think you're going to get some of the ladies divorced because I was saying, like, you've built that, you've got stronger, you feel good, and when you might make more headway than them, and then it's up to them, their ego might take over, or they'll do the right thing and step up and join you up there, right? And that's why, because some of them might not, right?
Yeah.
Blokes might not, or females might not, and they'll go down and they'll
stay where they are.
Yeah, stay where they are, and the other person's moved on. This is life. It's tough. But that's what it's all about. And in my opinion, if someone's not willing to meet you where you want to go, or they want to join you on that destination, they're probably not the right person for you.
Exactly.
Mate, amazing.
So a little bit before we get into the nitty gritty, what we're going to talk about, just a little bit of background about you, just like how have you got here?
Mate, long story short, wanted to be an actor. Actually, I wanted to be a goalkeeper. Yeah. I wanted to be a goalkeeper. I wanted to be a footballer, and then been always outgoing. So yeah, I sort of like performing. I guess I like being the class clown, as I used to get called. But it wasn't just me trying to be centre stage. It was a little bit of me self-deprecating because I was big. And I wanted to make sure I was larger than life, and no one said anything before me, because I knew I would take it a little bit to heart, because I was young and my ego, and I'd been called stuff before, fat and whatever. And I struggled with my weight until I was about 21. I even went to drama school, loved performing, but we got told, Lewis, like, you've got to sell yourself. I was like, how can I sell myself? I don't even like myself or how I look like. And people sniff out inauthenticity, right? You can't pretend. It will only get you so far. And when I was trying to be an actor, I couldn't pretend to be confident. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because I couldn't be an actor. I couldn't act confident, because that gets sniffed out. And I couldn't sell myself, because they say when you're an actor, you're walking, marketing, whatever it is, and your business card. And yeah, I just wasn't very confident. And it was a lot of things. Yeah, I used to love getting stoned when I was at uni. I used to just eat a lot, drink a lot at uni. I had a girlfriend, so I didn't really go out and improve myself. And yeah, everyone has a point of realization. I think something happens to them where they think, shit, I need to change. And it was like a breakup. And they say, like, blokes it's pretty classic for men, like they get dumped or something happens to who they love, and then all of a sudden they're like, right, what am I going to do? Am I going to go and improve myself and look at the perspective, this is great, good thing for me, or am I going to go the other way and get pissed and fucking get on it and play the victim? Oh, she left me, and I'm going to leave loads of calls for her, which I have done. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but listen, we all exactly. You got lesson. You got
to make those mistakes.
Lessons been learned. Yeah. But and that's it, and that's what happens. So it's difficult, and yeah, it sort of. It made me want to change. I got dumped, and it was my point of realization. I just graduated uni. I wasn't confident to go and do acting. I was still smoking lots of weed. I wasn't working. And yeah, I needed to fucking do something. I needed to give myself some purpose. And yeah, that's what happened. So it was breaking up, getting dumped or whatever. And I was, as I was, 21 stone. Yeah, and I was like, fucking, something's got to change. And I remember getting bullied at work after university, and that was another one. I was like 21, and someone called me something, like a fat fuck, at work, and then it kept happening. And then I was just like, why am I standing for this? What am I doing? And that I always said to myself, I'm going to prove that fucker wrong. He's a little prick anyway, but I'd love to see where he is now. Yeah. Love to see where he is now, because I know he'd be doing the same shit, mate, because sometimes something happens to us and it's about perspective. Are we going to play the victim, or are we going to use that to spur us on, man? Right? Do you agree?
100%. Yeah, it kind of reminds me, I was piggybacking off from that. I don't know if you've seen the region beta paradox, Chris Williamson. I don't know if he made it up himself. It's basically saying that like you're in a job, you're in a situation where it's not shit, like you don't hate it, you're not being abused or anything, but it's not great. You're not like excited about it, and it doesn't get you jumping for joy. Everyone would be much better off for their situation to be worse because then it would make them do something. Similar to what you were saying with like smoking weed, just like you got a girlfriend, everything sort of, it's cushy, it's not great. It's not like great, but it's not bad either. Like you needed something for that to happen to then spark. It's that kind of
mate, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. And yeah, it started like, and then I started going to the gym, and then I started, I got a job in sales. I was earning good money, and I going out, getting pissed and that. And then it got to a stage where I hated my job. I hated sales. My friend went traveling. He went to Colombia, EPA.
Hey.
And I wanted to go and teach English. I'd always wanted to go traveling. I grew up in a small village. So,
where are you from?
I'm from Hertfordshire, but I grew up in a quaint little village called Watton at Stone. Watton at Stone, where everyone's into bread. And I don't mean sandwiches. I'm only joking, no shade there. But yeah, I grew up in Hertfordshire, small village. So yeah, I always wanted to go traveling, see the world. So I got to a stage where I fucking hate my job doing sales. I got to a stage where I was traveling to work. I used to cycle to work, get the training and cycle. I would go to work and then I would just cycle around the town. I wouldn't even go to work. And I was just like completely lost with what I wanted to do. I had no purpose. And that's the reason I went traveling in the first place, was I needed to remove myself from the environment and the habits that I was sort of trapped in. And I needed to just take myself and go somewhere, because that is the ultimate, I think. So I did that, traveling, came back, lived in Colombia. What a place, by the way.
You need to go.
You need to go. I'll go with you.
I don't think I'll leave.
No, amazing. We need to go, honestly. 100%. It's definitely on the bucket list to go back again. But yeah, and then I ended up living in Canada for 3 years. And then during the pandemic, I studied to be a PT because I lost a bunch of weight. I went from 21 stone from when I moved from Colombia, Canada. Yeah, over 4 or 5 years. That sort of took its time. I was training all that time, and then during the pandemic, I qualified, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was a little bit of a shift, and then I had to leave Canada, move to Spain where my parents live. I know there's worse places I could have been in the pandemic, of course, but I was very grateful to stay there, and those 18 months changed my life big time. I think they did for a lot of people, right? The pandemic.
100%.
There was two types of people. I think people that fucking played the victim and just sit on their ass, and other people, right, what can I do? What can I get down to? And I think if I wasn't into the gym, I wouldn't even have had those thoughts. I think I would have just sat on my ass.
Yeah, I think a lot of people maybe kind of like got forced into that, because if you were furloughed, like what could you do, sort of thing. And like I went through the stage. I think the first, because I'd only just got into the gym, so I had like 3 months, and that was it. We was all online, fucking jumping around in our front rooms, doing fucking burpees every fucking day. I hated it. I was teaching classes Monday to Friday, but that was it. I had like an hour of classes, and then I was just getting stoned every day. Like, because that year I was going ham, fucking smoking weed, like every day. Don't know how I got it. Managed to get it in a fucking lockdown, but they'll find a way.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, I was just comfortable. It was just I just had, because we didn't know how long it was going to be. I was just like, well, what's the point? Like, I've got 6 months. I've got 6 months. Maybe I've got a year.
Loads of time to kill, right?
So yeah, so that first lockdown, I was doing nothing. Like I literally did nothing. But not to the point where I maybe took it too far. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know a lot of people, like, it depends, I suppose, what situation you were in and how inclined you are.
I was kind of grateful in Spain because like the gym that I was going to didn't close, like, which was amazing.
But we didn't have gyms. I think that would have been a massive difference.
Yeah, that's and that, I think generally, I am a bit of a drama queen, but saying this, I think it saved my life because not being able to work out at that stage where I was in my life, it was needed. You know, I needed to work out. I mean, I didn't touch on it, but I had a nervous breakdown just after the pandemic started, after I had to move from Canada back to Spain. So after that, I didn't really have any purpose, and the gym gave me purpose. Like working out gave me purpose. So that's why I'm very grateful that gym stayed open, because, I mean, when you think of it now, how the fuck did they close the gyms? Like,
Three times.
Three
times.
And that, I know, it wasn't just the UK.
Yeah.
There was plenty. And obviously, I don't want to get into that, but I don't think it was the right decision, because I think exercise would have helped a fuck ton of people. And yeah, fuck doing burpees in my front room, mate. Oh,
it was a shit time.
Worst thing in the world, mate.
Literally, I went back for the third lockdown, and I was in Tenerife, and the gyms were open. You had to wear a mask, and it was boiling hot, and I hated wearing the mask, but I just love being in the gym again. I can't be dealing with training. I had like I had equipment as well from the gym. I had like barbells and kettlebells, but it just wasn't the same.
It's not the
like
same.
The buzz, or just the change of environment, which I suppose we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah, man.
But like, I would just sit there in between sets, like just standing around my garden, like, well, this is shit.
Yeah, it's not
Same. Like, I suppose it was like, this is my house, this is where I sleep, eat, shit,
yeah.
And the gym is where I train, and differentiate the two, which is going to lead on nicely to exactly what we're going to talk about.
Let's go, mate. Yeah.
So, environment, obviously, you've touched upon there slightly. How, I suppose you talk about it quite a lot. How has that changed over the years? Because you had Spain, you had Canada, you had Colombia.
Yeah. So I'm a big advocate for shifting. Changing your environment shifts your identity. I've done it 3 times, and every single time, Lewis, I went away, I've evolved in some sense. So, for example, going to Colombia, going to a country that I've never, leaving Europe, going to South America, and that takes bollocks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
As they say, cojones,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
It takes bollocks just to do that anyway. But I've always wanted to go traveling. I always heard, find yourself, or but I can attest that you learn so much about yourself. You have no idea who you are until you are thrust upon the world in a country you are not familiar with people that you don't know, and you're on your fucking own. That will test you, okay? That's what life is about, is challenge. And if people really do want to grow and evolve and find themselves, you have to, I think, it's a bit extreme, but you have to just go somewhere else. Learn about you. Yeah, you're learning about yourself when you do that, because you've only got you to deal with. But, I think being independent is massively important. Not enough people are independent. And that's okay, and I get it, because it can be scary. People don't like being alone, right? But you will learn, because you have to, you've got no choice, to gain life skills to help you with that. Yeah. So, for example, in Colombia, like, no one spoke English. Of course they didn't. I'm in South America. Why the fuck did I expect people to speak English? It's so stupid. That's what I did, Lewis. Honestly, I thought I would get away with speaking English. Yeah. Absolutely not. So in the tiendas over there, they've got like, I lived in Cali, and because of the history of the narcos and stuff, the tiendas, like the corner shops, they're all barred. They've got bars on them. So when you go, you genuinely have to ask the shopkeeper what you want or what you need. And when I first got there, obviously, I had no idea, no Spanish, and I was fucking pointing this poor abuela, this old woman, around the fucking room. She didn't have a clue. And I was like, I can't live like this. It took me about 20 minutes. And all I got was, like, I think it was toothpaste, some deodorant, and it was, some eggs. It was just a whole ordeal. And I can't live like this. The first thing I did, I had to get some Spanish lessons. I've got to get some Spanish lessons, because your brain will adapt to the environment you put it in. So once you're there and you've set in a routine, then that environment, that where I was living, that neighborhood, that became me. I had to adapt to it, Do you know what I mean? Like, I had to go and find where the bus stop was, where the local thing is, necessities that I think a lot of people lack. I think if you removed a car from someone and put them in a different country and they weren't allowed to drive, a fucking lot of people would struggle with even what to do. Where do I go? Do I get an Uber? There's no taxis around here. How am I going to hail a cab down and tell the cab driver what I want to do? I'm not going to take my phone out because I'm in a third world country. So how am I going to communicate? That will cause growth in a human. Any human. Does that make sense?
It takes you out of your comfort zone because it's like, I think a lot of people just stay here. I know I'm guilty of it as well, so I'm not going to sit on my high horse of like staying somewhere where you're comfortable, where you know the areas, you know where to go, you know where not to go, you know how things work. But then when you put yourself in a situation, just like what kind of reminded me of on such a small scale, you don't necessarily have to move to Colombia to like find yourself as such.
Oh,
but like
yeah.
when I did the solo trip, it was literally 5 days of being on my own. Yes, I was in Spain, I can kind of get around. You're on your own. Like, you don't, I keep saying, like, don't anticipate talking to anyone. You're sitting there with your own thoughts. Your day is governed however you want to do. You haven't got to think, oh, am I going to go to dinner at this time because they're going to be up, or whatever it is. You're just thinking about yourself. And you do learn a lot because you're like, oh shit, well, you've got a lot of time to think. I've said it's like a walking meditation as such, because you're just contemplating life decisions or things that happen or what you're going to do next in terms of your life. And it's just even that small period of time of like reflection,
100%.
which is really good. And again, the comfort zone, because you're in a different country.
Well, yeah, I mean, consider that life is supposed to be challenging, right? It's like people that think it's supposed to be easy and comfortable will find themselves eventually uncomfortable because of how comfortable their life is. Yeah. And they'll itch, they'll want to do something. I hear it all the time. Oh, I want to get out, I want to do this, I want to do that. And that's, again, another important thing. So yeah, going to, you know, Colombia, I evolved as a person then. I became, like I said, I was always outgoing, but it's different when you're in a different country. So from there, Colombia, teaching English in a Spanish in a Colombian public school, an incredible experience. Not speaking the same language, but still having, you know, because we're all fucking humans, we still have, you know, connection. We still had banter, and we didn't even speak the same language, and it was just an incredible time. And the Colombians are fucking amazing people and really nice. So from that, I actually went from Bogota to Toronto, and I decided to move to Canada. And yeah, it was, again, another evolution.
Go from the hot to probably the cold.
Yeah, go for the fucking freezing cold. But even in between that, it was, I got into a relationship, and to be honest, I got into the relationship because it was regular sex, and I don't like to say that, but it wasn't, unfortunately, a massive connection. It was because of that, and I felt a little bit trapped for some reason, because I'm quite a loyal person. I felt loyal to for some reason. But yeah, anyway, I got into a relationship, and that was really quite a toxic relationship. And yeah, I really gained a whole load of weight because I got into a relationship. And then, like I say, I moved to Canada. And again, that was another evolution. So obviously I split up with that girlfriend, and I was, again, big, and I wanted, again, to just remove myself and go somewhere and, right, this is another chance to really evolve a little bit of who I am. Yeah, exactly. So the first part was probably a bit of an evolution. This was like a reinvention. I needed to reinvent myself because I wasn't happy with who I was. So that got into back in the gym in Canada, Toronto. What a place, by the way. Amazing country. Traveled all over, made some amazing friends that I still keep in touch with. And yeah, it was huge evolution as me as a person. But then, even then, I was working in a bar, you know, getting pissed, getting stoned, getting on it quite literally most weekends, because that was the environment I put myself in. I was working in a bar, and of course, when you work in a bar, what the fuck's going to happen? Exactly. It's the environment I'm stepping in, and it's, so James Clear said in his book, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behaviour. And again, like I say, going into that bar, all of a sudden, I wanted to get on it. I got the feeling, and that was my life. I lost a load of weight, but I kept it off because,
so much gear.
And I wasn't even fucking really eating, you know. And that's fucked up. But I'm still getting into the gym and stuff. And then I got into a relationship, and this girl changed my life. And she probably never know how much she changed my life. I'd love to tell her one day, and I probably will. But so I was never into self-development or anything, and this girl was fucking switched on. Her dad was a millionaire, honestly. Millionaire. Her gaff was outrageous. Sauna, swimming pool, outdoor tennis court. I could not believe it, mate. Honestly, I thought, I am fucking in here. It's like fucking hell. But I fucked it, basically, because it was weird. Like, her old man, because he was successful, he did not like me, because I was a bar manager. I worked in a bar. That was it. and I could tell, right, it's fucking funny. Like we went and had something to eat. I went round there for something. They invited me round, and like she had a sister, and her sister's boyfriend was there, and he was a scientist. And when I went round there, the dad asked him if he wanted a drink, but he never asked me because I know, genuinely
Just as
asked,
a
but
power
didn't
trip.
ask me. Yeah, power trip, because he was like, but I know he was doing it on purpose. I know it for a fact.
Yeah.
But again, something happened for a reason. That was a point of realization. I didn't know it at the time. But anyway, when I had to move back I had to leave Canada. I wanted to move there permanently because I fucking loved it and I loved this girl and I wanted to marry her. Anyway, I was going to study there and spend 10 grand to study something I didn't even want to study because I wanted to be with this girl. How fucked up does that sound? I'm so glad that I didn't. But when I left Canada, she gave me a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Right, the classic.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
I've not read
You've
it.
not read it?
No,
No.
I think it was just so not outdated. I think I need to read it, but it's like one of those that's just massive in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so popular. Yeah, it's from like the 1920s. I think there's a new version or an edited version. Anyway, she bought me this, and at first I was like,
Books.
why do I need that? Yeah, exactly. Books and How to Win Friends. Fuck about. I've got loads of mates. I was like, okay, cool. And then as it went on, we broke up over like Zoom or whatever it was at the time, Skype or fucking whatever. And yeah, but because she was in Canada, I was here. It was fucking hard, right? So I didn't really. Anyway, it was I adapted to the environment of being lonely, and I kept fucking messaging her, and then she basically sent me an email saying, "You don't contact me anymore."
Like, stop. Yeah.
And that was bang. I was like, that fucked me up, and then that was it. And then I picked up How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I just started reading that because there was a reason she gave me that book. I didn't know it at the time, but I think it was because she kind of knew I needed to focus on values and morals because I didn't have any of that. I wasn't even fucking thinking of anything of those. Those thoughts didn't come into my head, Lewis.
A lot of people don't, to be fair.
No, they don't. They don't have the self-awareness, and that's another massive thing. But yeah, I started reading it, and I started that, and all of a sudden it sort of snowballed, and I realised that I was in Spain with my parents. I had no job, I had no career, I had no money, and I was living in another country on a resort full of old people, no one my age. What the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I had to adapt to that environment.
Yeah.
But that was the next stage of the evolution. And where I'm currently got me to where I am now, because that July 2020, from around then, that was the whole self-improvement of who I am, improving myself and knowing, being just self-aware. I don't think, like you say, a lot of people lack self-awareness, mate. They don't even aware of their thoughts, their feelings, why they act, the way they behave, why they have mood swings or anything. They don't understand. They just live life robotically. And I think you only know about self-awareness once you have it. How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Once you know you're self-aware, that's when you can go, right, okay. But most people don't even get to that stage.
I think if you need to like allow it to happen, because like you were saying there I think there is a big notion of just going out, getting on it, like and repeating that week on week. And even not even getting on it, but just waiting to Friday, drinking, doing all this shit. And you don't need to be self-aware because you've got distractions. You've got the distractions of a Friday night, then a Saturday night, then the distraction of a hangover. And you don't sit there thinking, looking inwardly. And I just think when you've got time to allow yourself to, I think something has to happen, and then you think like, right, okay, this needs to fucking change. And that's when people start like, okay, maybe I'll read this book. Yeah. Maybe I'll start doing this. But I know there's a lot of pushback because I didn't read until I was like 21. I was like, fuck this. I was like, I'm reading it. Didn't pick up a book, and then I think I read Mindset by Carol Dweck, and then it sort of snowballed into that.
Nice.
But yeah,
you're quite big on your reading, right?
I
should do more reading.
But then there's a fine line because I think I like mentally masturbate quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I read, taking all this information, but then it's like, right, okay, you need to action it now.
Yeah.
Like you need to actually do something.
Yeah, and not sort of implement it. I think that's my trouble.
That
I have enough access to a lot of information that I'm still not using myself, right? Yeah. So yeah, adding that into the mix. But environment is massive, and where I am now is it changed my life living in Spain for that long because I had to adapt to the environment. I I had no friends or family, or there was, you know, it was still a pandemic. There wasn't much going on. What the fuck was I going to do? And I had to come up with something. And that's where, you know, Ferrari Fitness came in, and I decided I want to help people. And then I started investing in myself and invested in a mentor, and, you know, and it's got me to this stage now, mate. And yeah, and moving to London last April was just another evolution of me. Because I know I'm British or I'm English, I'm from London, I'm from Hertfordshire, whatever. But I moved here on my own to this city, to London. I don't live with people I know. You know, I didn't get a job in a place that I knew people. Again, because of my experience and the environments I've put myself in the past, it's allowed me to be able to do what today. Yeah. You know, like, and I feel very comfortable. A lot of people would be fucking, I think, petrified to move to a big city on their own. Yeah. I've done it 3 times, you know, so. I think if my advice would be, was just, change your environment, you can change your life.
There's a quote that I read actually 2 days ago in a book, and it says, it's very hard to show up as the person you want to be when you're surrounded by an environment that makes you feel like the person you aren't.
Yeah, incredible. Amazing, mate. Like, that's similar to, I can't think of it, but you was gonna say something or not?
I've got a question, but I don't know.
Okay, yeah, go on, hit me with a question.
So my question I just thought of now, and I suppose I probably need to think of an answer to this. When does the change of environment stop? Because you can't just keep changing location in the hopes of evolution. At some point, you've got to stay where you are. But when does that become a thing?
It depends how you mean stay where you are, because you can keep moving, but that doesn't mean necessarily quite literally.
In what
right? As in, you can keep moving forwards with what you want to do with your life, because you've created the environment that helps you win, right?
So environment doesn't necessarily mean, like, I'm just clarifying obviously for people watching, like, doesn't necessarily mean move towns or countries or things like that.
No, definitely not. It means your immediate environment. It could mean, so like picking up your bag or setting up your gym bag and stuff ready in the morning by the door, like as a quick example. Or an extreme example is working near maybe a gym. So you've got no excuse, and when you go to work, you've got a gym there. That's creating, you can create your environment, you can set up your environment to win. We are the architects of our own environment. It doesn't mean move up and get away. It could be changing your room round, not like fucking feng shui. I mean, like changing your room round to help align with your goals. Like if you're thinking about doing yoga in the morning, maybe you set up a yoga space, because then you step into that environment. You mentioned it earlier about going to the gym during the pandemic. You're outside with barbells. That's not the gym environment, is it? That's your fucking garden. Yeah, it's where you probably sit and chill and get pissed or listen to music. It's not the gym. Does that make sense? When you go to the gym, that's the environment. That's why I love going to the gym, because I'm set there, I'm walking in, and it's fucking with purpose. I'm not going in there, why am I here? I know why I'm here. I'm stepping into an environment that helps me win. So that would be, it doesn't have to be. I'm glad you clarified that, because it doesn't, I'm not talking about fucking jump on a plane and go somewhere. I'm talking about anything, whatever your environment is. Like I had one of my clients talk about, they were talking about every time they go out with their friends on lunch at work, they buy shit food. And I went, how often you've been going to Tesco's or whatever it was? I've been doing it 3 or 4 months. And I was like, so you're telling me you go with the same 3 friends, you go into Tesco's, you probably walk down the exact same way in the same aisle, and you don't even think about what you're picking. You're just choosing it because of the habit and the environment you've built, because you set the environment up as that's what you do. You walk into Tesco, you go take a left down that aisle, and you find yourself all of a sudden in the snacks. You didn't even think, you've got your shopping list. It doesn't say fucking tea cakes on there, does it? But all of a sudden you're down the tea cake aisle. The tea cake aisle, a whole aisle dedicated to tea cakes. I wish.
You're down a more British line.
You're down the crisps or whatever. And I just said, I know this sounds basic, but stop going into that supermarket with your friends. I know that sounds horrible, right? Why are you telling me to do that? I'm stopping you from entering the environment that is causing you that habit. That's what I'm trying to stop. I'm trying to help you realize that as well, right? It's so easy. It's, again, the law of conformity. You go to the same pub with the same 9 people who are 9 pissheads, you're going to be the 10th pisshead. You're literally stepping into that environment. And as I said, and James Clear says, it's the invisible hand that shapes your behavior. You look around at how the way you act is going to be set up and in alignment with how your environment is set up.
Yeah, I think I touched on that in Jack's podcast, and the first one here was I was saying about when I deleted TikTok, because that is, I suppose, an element of your environment. As I was looking, the algorithm was obviously feeding me shit that I was maybe giving a little bit of attention to, but I didn't really want to see. So I had to change something, because all I was doing was just every night just going on TikTok, looking at fucking depressing fucking videos and motivational depressing video, and I was just like, you know what, I don't need it anymore. So I deleted it. That's the change in environment. It's just getting rid of the thing is obviously feeding into that, and I suppose it's the habit, which we're going to talk about now, that is aligned with that. So what is your viewpoint on habits?
Yeah, habits, massive. So environment's huge, and then habits will come after. I
suppose the environment's going to dictate the habits that you do have.
Exactly. As we've been speaking about, and that's, I think it's really important for people to know that that's going to trigger their habits is environment. So for example, like I used to smoke quite heavily, and when I go out for a drink, that's a fucking huge trigger for me. And that's a long time ago, but it's still a trigger because it doesn't leave. Our brains are so complex, so fucking complex. Yeah, all it will take is just bang, one smell, one
sip of drink,
just one sip of drink, and then all of a sudden everything comes rolling back. We're so fucking complex. We're creatures of habit, right? So yeah, everyone talks about James Clear's book Atomic Habit, but there's another, and I can't remember the name, and I wish I could. It's another book about habit, and there's another
Power of Habit.
It might be The Power of Habit.
It's like Charles Who.
Yes, yes. Now
it's
that
like a rat on the.
Yes, on the wheel. Yeah, that's such a really good book because that sound like about the guy who gets like Alzheimer's or whatever, but he still loses memory or he has an accident, but he's still in the same house, performed the same habits because he's in the same environment. But he couldn't remember other people's names or anything, but he had quite literally this muscle memory. And you've read it, right?
I haven't read it, no.
Oh, right, you've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, get on it because it gives it that aspect that despite this person having, a brain injury or whatever, I'm not specifically sure what it was, but he still was just acting the same when they put him in his bed and getting up at the same time. And it's like, that's habit. But that's because of the environment that he's created. But yeah, I just think habit stacking is what one thing people try and do is change all their habits at once. And I think that's really, really poor. Like, I never used to make my bed. How fucking shit's that? Terrible. That's how much of a slob I used to be. Never used to make my bed. But just even that was a small habit of just making my bed in the morning. And in my head, I was thinking, that's the first thing done today. Amazing. A habit. Brushing your teeth. I brush my teeth in the shower. Huge habit. In the shower, yeah. Just because that's
2 in 1
habit, 2 in 1. And that's just reminded me, I now have consistent cold showers because what I did, and this is perfect for this, is I wanted to do cold showers. And it was like a New Year's resolution. I was going to do it in January. Obviously it's freezing anyway. So I was like, oh, fuck. So I was like, how am I going to set up my environment to win? How am I going to make this a habit? So I thought, do you know what? I went to this length, bought a speaker from Amazon for a Bluetooth speaker, and then I would put one particular song on, and as soon as I go into the shower, as soon as that song came on the playlist, bang, cold. Yeah. And that's what I did continuously, and now I don't need the music. Yeah. Okay, so single time I went in there, I played the song. It was just a little playlist, 2 songs, shower, cold shower. Yeah. Fontaine's DC was the shower song. If anyone wants to listen to that, if they want to do the same thing. So that was it. And then one day I got into the shower and I forgot my music, but fucking hell, guess what happened?
Just did it.
I put the cold shower on, didn't even think about it because I had just done it before. I queued it up. I kept queuing it. And then the moment I forgot the music, I didn't even think about it. I just got in the shower and I went bang. And that is, I think, an example of environment then cueing your habit. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean by that? Yeah.
So
do you do cold showers?
I don't.
You don't?
No,
No,
I haven't. I do them in Tenerife, but that's not.
Yeah,
that's a cop out because it's not even cold.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually nice, but no, I've not jumped on the cold shower or the cold dips. I probably should, but
no, I don't know. I like it. Gives me just a little. Boost.
I tried to do it and I was like.
Yeah, it is horrible. That's why I sort of had to try and make it sort of a habit that I didn't think about. because I think that's hard. But
There's a lot of resistance as well in the beginning part, which I think is where people stop. At the beginning of performing a new habit, your brain almost is like going to give you a bit of pushback. It's like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm not used to what the fuck's going on.
Yeah,
We're used to just staying in bed. We're used to snoozing. We're not used to getting up and going. And I guess it's like, what would you say for people that, what's the best thing that you think in that resistance time to keep on pushing through? Because it might take a week, it might take 2, it might even take a fucking month.
you need to create leverage. There needs to be some sort of huge leverage
With regards to what?
with regards to why you're doing this habit or what you're trying to change. Too many people focus on what they don't want. We need more people to focus on what they do want. What do you want from this? Like, ask yourself what you trying to create. Well, I want to do this. Okay, now let's create some leverage of why you want to do it. Who's it going to impact if you don't do it? Who is it going to impact? Who are you going to let down? Yeah, it needs to be. If we're going to try and build a habit, if you're thinking about you don't want to smoke or you don't want to drink, that's too easy to say. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. What do you want to do? I want to quit drinking? Okay, cool. What's the reason behind you want to quit drinking? I don't know. What about your children? What about your kids? If there are any adults here, if you can't, one of my clients said, if I can't do it for them, then if I can't do it for myself, then I'll do it for them. I know it sounds harsh. It might be like a shock tactic, but you need to create some leverage. In my program, I call it connecting the head and the heart, because they are as one. If you don't have a big enough reason to stick to the fucking habit, then you're never going to do it. It's going to be arbitrary. It doesn't mean anything to you. It has to mean something. Too many people walking around not doing stuff that they, one, enjoy, and two, that they consciously want to do. For example, people not fucking doing jobs that they like, etc., etc. But if there's something that you want to do, there's a habit that you want to build, then you have to, my advice would be, write down 50 fucking reasons why, what you want from doing this habit or what you're going to get from it. 50 reasons. Because you can't write down 50, it's probably not going to stick. You need to write it down and then pin that fucker up, or look at it, or remind yourself of it every day, or write it down, because it has to have meaning. Humans need to justify their actions, and that will create much more cohesion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of, I don't know if you've seen the Peterson thing with the mouse, the cat and the cheese. So basically they did like a study of, they put a mouse in a cage and they attached like one thing to its tail, maybe one thing to its head, so it was pulling on both directions, and they wafted the smell of cheese and it pushed the mouse towards it. Right. And they wafted the smell of a cat from the behind, and it pushed even harder to like move away from it. So it's basically saying like you need something to go towards, but then you also need a reason to go away from it. Like you were saying, obviously you need to see, okay, what's the good thing about this? What's the cost of not doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
How is this life going to be affected? So you've always got that pushing, like both forces pushing against it. Yeah, to try and get you to do it.
Exactly, and you need to create that. You know, and even if you don't get there, then there is a lesson to be learned, right, on that. So yeah, that's my big advice, Lewis, is it has to have a huge, when the why is big enough, the how looks after itself. And too many people want to change, or they like the idea of change, but they're not sure what they want from the change. What do you want? It's not good enough to say you want more confidence. Yeah. Fucking everyone wants more confidence. Yeah, oh, I want more self-belief. Oh, but most people will say, I don't know what I want. And that's the problem, because you're focusing on what you don't want. Focus on what you do want, right?
Yeah.
If someone comes to me and I want to lose weight, because what? I want to lose weight because I want to prove to someone or someone else and prove to myself that I can do this, and I want to apply for a new job, and I just think it would really help with my confidence if I was doing something about it. Action is the answer to most things, right? And yeah, it needs to have a big enough reason.
Yeah. And I think that self-awareness comes from writing shit down. Like you said there, why do you want to do it? Write it down. Don't just sit there thinking, oh, well, I would like to do it because, oh, this. Like, no, write it down. Look at it every single day. And I guess this is where journaling comes in, we're going to touch upon now. I don't think people understand, like, it sounds really like blasé of just like actually writing shit down. And like whatever it is, writing your goals down, writing how you feel, having that bit of introspection of like, okay, how am I feeling? How does this make me feel? What do I want to do? So what's been your experience with journaling? I know you've been doing it a lot longer than I have.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. I mean, I actually started journaling because I heard Chris Williamson's podcast about the 6-minute diary.
I started with that.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it.
Didn't like no.
I think it was good when I got into it because I've never journaled before before I'd done that, so I didn't really know what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
But it got to a stage where I was like, I am sick to death of answering these questions of like,
Yeah.
what am I grateful for? I got to the point when I was like grateful for a fucking cup of like the sun being out, and I was like, oh, right, it's just getting a bit much now. It got to the stage where that sort of ran its course. So I did like it to get started, but that kind of sort of fizzled out in the end.
I guess I get that it can lose its meaning when it comes a little bit repetitive, but I think it is up to you to create the excitement. I mean, the 6-minute diary is great. I actually got it for my mum as a Christmas present because I thought she's actually, again, the compound effect is that my parents have sort of noticed me in this sort of area of my life and they want to improve as well, which is amazing. So that's for you, mum. Yeah, so even like she's looking at wanting to improve herself and journaling, and I think just journaling helps because it gives you just clarity. I'm grateful to be working with Paul Moore, who has the Unstoppable Planner in his programs, and he strongly believes in prompted journaling. So the 6-minute diary had asked you questions like but Paul's whole philosophy is questions are the steering wheel of the mind, and if you're not answering questions about yourself and who you are and what you're doing today and your feelings and thoughts and emotions and what you're actually doing, then how do you know how you're going to turn up on that day? Who's going to turn up? It's about priming yourself for the day, whereas I used to fucking roll out of bed and fucking scratch my ass and go to work.
Be very reactive as opposed to proactive.
Exactly. And again, it goes to setting up your environment to win. I wanted to be ready in the morning when I woke up. I didn't want to fucking feel sluggish, rushing around. I used to hate that me. I hated that part of me. Hated it. And even just getting up, and I'm excited to journal in the morning because I'm putting my attention on my intentions for the day. I'm excited to ask questions. How do I want to feel today? Who am I going to impact today? Because the quickest way to feel good is to share gratitude with someone, or give someone some gratitude, or give someone a compliment. It's the quickest way to feel good. Yeah, and that's what answering questions help you with. It just, I like now, whereas before, as I would say, I'm not like that. I like spur of the moment. I'm fucking spontaneous. But that was just an excuse. I just accepted that I was like that, but I wasn't. I actually really fucking value now planning my week. I review my week. I never thought I'd review my week. What the fuck? You say that? It's like I'm fucking at school. I review my week. I answer questions about my week. Because that is the ultimate amount of self-awareness. Recording, measuring backwards. Am I where I want to be in my life? And I think when you write stuff down, like I said, connecting the head and the heart, we're connecting the brain and the hand. I don't know. Brain and the pen. I don't know. You're writing something down. It's like you're writing a written contract with you. Yeah. It's like you fucking wrote that. Yeah. That was you that wrote that. You wanted to do this. You wrote that with your own hand, but you're doing nothing about it. For me, that should cause an emotion inside me that I wrote something down, but I can't be asked to do it.
It's like a reminder because obviously we have so many thoughts. I think where was I? I was at High Performance Live with Jake Humphries. I think he said.
I bet that was sick, man. I think I actually saw you like right at the front, right?
Yeah. In the picture you can see me. It's my
nice, mate. Claim to fame.
80,000 thoughts a day, and 70% of those are negative. But if brush aside the negative ones, but say if you're saying things to yourself, I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to go to the gym 4 times this week, or I'm going to make sure my fucking wife get flowers or whatever, and you just think it, and then that's it. It disappears. You forget about it. But if you write that down that day that you said you were going to do that, and then when you review the week, you're like, shit, it's one thing I didn't do. Then you're probably more likely to go and do it, or it keeps reminding you that you keep falling short of what it is that you're saying.
Especially for men, Lewis. I mean, men fucking suck at organising, scheduling stuff in. It's my 30th birthday on Saturday, and I've not arranged anything. So I know nothing. I don't know if that's me or what. I don't know what it. But we're terrible at arranging stuff. I mean, that's just my birthday. That's another thing. But just in a whole, men don't plan shit, and I think that's what's changed my life, is because, I mean, I even asked my housemate the other week, I was like, what are you up to today? I don't know. I can't remember last time I didn't know what I was doing. Does that make sense? On a day.
Really, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I can't live like that anymore. And again, that's another example of the compound effect. Whereas, because I never used to think like that. And I think I encourage change, and I think it's normal. We should be shifting identities. I think we should. But yeah, that's it. The journaling is just a written contract with yourself.
I think it's finding the way that works for you, because I started journaling when I first moved back here to 2021. I had the 6-minute journal. I actually bought 2. So I did one, stopped doing it, did another one, stopped doing it. Then I started journaling on Notion. Again, prompted stuff, like the same questions every single day. Did that for a bit, stopped again. And now I've just moved to just a blank journal, just nothing. I just write whatever's on my mind. Maybe I'll have like a prompt from the Daily Stoic or something that I've read or whatever. But I found that works for me now. Yeah. Just the fluidity and just the randomness, because the one thing I've been doing it for a month now. The one thing that pushes me on is I've been reading old journal prompts. So like I've started doing it. I started trying to do freestyle prompts, and I found like a book where I did 2 days, and I'd read something that I wrote in Tenerife like 2 years ago. Completely forgot that I wrote about it. I'm like, fucking, that's sick.
Yeah, nice.
Just to look back on that.
Yeah, I mean
telling me about Tenerife. But yeah, it's like it's like finding what works for you. Because like you're saying, you like questions, I'm saying I like fluidity, and I think a lot of people get bogged down of like, oh, which one should I do? Like, what's the right one? No, the right one's for you. Go and try it. Go see what works.
For sure. And it's all trial and error. Because I've heard I don't like journaling. That's cool, but have you actually given it a go?
Yeah.
Because you could say I don't like journaling, but you've done it once. Like, have you done it consistently 3-4 months? And tell me that doesn't improve your life. I challenge anyone to do some sort of journaling, and they use it as it's supposed to be used. Any journal. I think, like I say, I'm supporting prompted journaling because I think it will give you more direction. But like you say, whatever,
just any form of writing,
any form of writing, because you're brain dumping, you're getting it out. Yeah. So much. And I challenge people, if you've got a problem, if you've got an issue, if there's something wrong, I challenge you to just write it down and say it out loud and tell me if it's still a big issue. Just tell me. Yeah. Because if it is, then you've said it out loud, and that should give you motivation to sort it. If you say it out loud and you go, fucking hell, what am I? That's so silly. Yeah. It's again, and that's what I think. It's, I don't like typing journaling and stuff. No, it has to be the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword.
My resistance was when I first started writing, my hand used to get tired, and I was like, fuck this. So I'd rather just type. It's not the same kind of thing. And what you were just saying there about writing shit down and thinking, oh, is it actually that big of a deal? Because it might be in the moment, but I think the value that I've got from it is like at the end on a Sunday, I'll just read the week's prompts, and like on a Tuesday I was having a shit day, I was having shitty thoughts, and I'm like, do you know what, actually wasn't that bad. Like, or I'm over it now. Like, I've probably blown out perspective, but you can only get that perspective when you start reading it back.
Exactly, when you're recording shit. Exactly, when you're recording it, and then like you measure backwards, like what can I improve on, and how am I not going to make the same mistake moving forward? But that's why I just couldn't live anymore without journaling, because it gives me purpose, it gives me direction. And another thing as well is, like you said earlier, everyone's so negative. 70% of our thoughts are negatives, and one thing I've been taught, and what Paul's shown us, is recording your wins. So actually in the planner, it's what were the 3 biggest wins today. The reason why, and what more progress can you make on it. So if I do that 3 times a day, 7 times a week, that's 21 wins. Yeah, that's 21 things I can show my brain to show that I'm making progress. It has to be that, because we're also wired negatively. You must check in with your clients and you say, what's your 3 biggest wins and stuff like that. And I try and really hit this home, because we have to show our brain positivity, because it is a problem-solving machine, our brain. If we don't show it positivity or show it progress, then it will solve problems that aren't. It will try and solve problems that aren't there. It will create problems. If we're not, because if you're not recording your wins and the positive, you're going to think, oh, I'm not making any progress, I'm not doing anything. And then it's negative thoughts, negatives, and then your mood is crushed, and then you can't show up for the people in your life because you're petrified. And that, again, I'm not in a time in my life I want that to happen. I want to fucking build people up, man.
It takes practice as well, because I see it in my clients when they first start. I have that question of the 3 wins, and in the beginning they don't really give me that much. And I'm like, look, it can be anything. We're just getting you to fucking program what is positive? What are you celebrating? And then after weeks 5, week 6 or whatever, then they start pouring out, oh, this happened. And then that happened, because you're seeking out all the positive.
You got to find it. You have to search for them, man. You can't just, oh, I don't know. Like, if someone says like, oh, no, I had a pretty shit week this week. Oh, that's not the question I asked you, mate. But
that's good.
Yeah, I said what was the best part, not what was shit. And it's funny because even when I go to my classes at the gym and I say like, what was been the best part of your week? Everyone's so negative. No one gives a positive answer. It's really, I have to sort of egg them on, and it's so true. And I use this analogy is that when someone passes away, instead of going, oh, what a great person he was, people go, oh no, how did he die? How did he die? They want to know more about the negativity. How did he die? When did that happen? What did he die of? Or she, whatever. And we're just programmed to be negative. We feed off it. Everyone wants more negative stuff. That's these fuckers at the BBC, the nonces, whatever. Everyone's all over it because it's negative. It's disgusting. But people want to hear more. People sharing photos. Why are you sharing photos and talking about nonces for? It's just fucking, I just don't get, but people feed off that negative stuff, the scandal. Yeah. People love it. It's quite literally filth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people want more of it. And that's why I do that, because I want people to see more positive shit. 100%. The quickest way to be miserable is to fucking pick up a newspaper. Yeah. Oh my God, I fucking hate it. Or having the news on. I don't watch that shit, man, because life's tough enough. I don't need more shit being hammered into my brain of how fucked up this world can be.
100%. I'm going to have to cut it short there because we've run out of time. But we're going to finish off with your final messages, anything you want to plug, whatever it is.
No,
people.
Bro, I got nothing to plug. This has been an absolute pleasure. I just want to impact as many people as possible. I've got a story to tell. I know you do as well. You can find me on Instagram, Ricky Ferrari Fitness, at Ricky Ferrari Fitness. And yeah, I've got some new things coming, new program. The YouTube channel is going to be coming soon as well. And yeah, thank you for having me on, mate.
Thanks for coming on, mate.
Absolute
been a pleasure.
Fucking pleasure.
It's been a great conversation, mate.
Mate, thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you as well.
Decent. Top man, Lewis.
I'll finish this as I always finish it, guys. Do better, be better, and live better.